Emotional abuse can often be less obvious than physical abuse, but that doesn't make it less dangerous. Let's take a look at 5 of the most common types of emotional abuse. Let's start with gaslighting. This is a term that you will hear often when people discuss the most common forms of emotional abuse. The main purpose of gaslighting is to make a person doubt the veracity of their perception of reality. Typical gaslighting phrases are, "It seemed that way to you." "That's not what actually happened." "You are inventing things." Gaslighters deny events, feelings, emotions, and whatever presents an obstacle to them getting their way. As a result, a person who has been subjected to gaslighting feels like they are going crazy. By the way, the term itself came into use thanks to the film Gaslight, which clearly shows how this type of abuse works. I advise you to watch it if you have the time. Another means of emotional abuse is ignoring someone. If your partner does not like your actions, reactions, emotions, and decisions, they will limit their interaction with you. Silence, a detached look, the disappearance of habitual rituals, disregard for your plans and interests. All of these are forms of purposefully ignoring you. Moreover, there is often no reason given for this kind of behavior, causing feelings of guilt and hopelessness in those who are ignored. Another form of emotional abuse is isolation. Isolation differs from ignoring someone in that it is not the abuser himself who moves away from the victim, but rather forces the victim to exclude relatives and friends from their life. No one is allowed except for him. Thus, the abuser locks in on all the victim's communications and deprives them of all outside support. A fourth option is blackmail and intimidation. These forms of psychological abuse are used to deprive a victim of their own will, their own opinions, and to subordinate them completely to the abuser's desires and way of life. Feelings of guilt, shame, and awkwardness can cause the victim to abandon their own plans in favor of the desires of another. In parent-child relationships, the older generation will tend to use their health to manipulate their children. In romantic relationships, certain personal sexual details often come to the fore. And the last major form of emotional abuse is control. Attempts to control a victim may make themselves apparent in demands for reports on everything that happens in your life. Reports on your actions, social circle, plans, place of stay, financial expenses, correspondence, etc. There may even be covert surveillance involved. If you find something familiar in the above-listed forms of emotional abuse, then remember that you can cope with it. Realizing the problem and raising your awareness of it is already a huge step towards solving it. However, whatever the form of psychological abuse, one thing should be known. Coping with abuse while in a relationship with an abuser is very difficult. Therefore, it is very important to first break out of the cycle of abuse and distance yourself as much as possible. Only start dealing with your partner once this has been achieved. That is, of course, if you want to maintain and improve your relationship. What can you do if you think you are in an emotionally abusive relationship? First and foremost, trust yourself, your feelings, and your intuition. If, when a potential emotional abuser is next to you, you feel bad, then this is an alarm bell. Second, you can record everything that happens. For example, keep a personal diary and write down everything that you are experiencing in it. After a few days, reread what you have written and try to look at it from the outside, or capture reality using audio or video recordings. Third, get outside support. Find a disinterested person who will help you look at your relationship from the outside and more or less objectively evaluate what is happening. Fourth, analyze what really keeps you close to this person. What are you afraid of? What's the worst thing that can happen if you end this relationship? And why do you need them at all? And one last thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you feel that something is wrong in your relationship. You can share your doubts with loved ones or contact a psychologist. There is nothing to be ashamed of. In the event of possible emotional abuse, reaching out is very important for your mental well-being.